Welcome back to Einstein Media Center, your one stop shop for all unnecessary media dissection. Today, we are joined with a very special guest. We are joined with Kevin from the post hardcore band hailing from Virginia, Pulses. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, um, to start off, why don't you just give us a little background of who Pulses is, how the band came together, and wow, what brought you up to this point in 2025 so far?
So it's been a long time. It's like we just celebrated 10 years recently. So, um, to not give a whole ordeal for 10 years, I'll just say we started, my brother Caleb, we're actually blood related. He wanted to do a battle of the bands in high school, picked up a couple people. Those people didn't work out. He was like, "Yo, you play drums, you could do it." And I was like, "Sure." I'm a lot older than him. We have a 6 year age gap, so that's why I wasn't. I was like, "Yeah, you do it with your friends, your people. I don't need to go back." But since he was like in a bind, I was like, "All right, sure, yeah, I'll absolutely do that." So we did that. It worked out, and we said, "You know what? Let's just keep going, I guess, and see how that goes." So we picked up like the original lineup. Matt came in a little bit through just after playing some shows, DIY stuff. So we picked him up. Then our original vocalist, he left. And we've been going on as a four-piece ever since. And so through all that, we have now like 3 LPs, a couple EPs, and very, very blessed to still be doing this. So
Nice, that's awesome. And to jump kind of into the sound of your music, um, in my opinion, I've dubbed this name for what you guys are doing. I kind of you, Cheem, and like a few other people in the scene. I kind of call it party metal. Like, what is some of the influences and inspiration to take this strand of post-hardcore and kind of turn it into like a party, so to speak?
I mean, it's funny. One, we have got that before, which is cool. So I'm like, there's the amount of like things that we've been called over the years or bands been compared to. We have a list. It's like it's a massive list. It's cool though. I love it. I love hearing all of it, minus like a couple. But that's a good one. But like it really just kind of comes from like we we Caleb and I specifically grew up like on hip hop and pop and R&B and funk and like all that shit from like all the old days. It's like my dad used to be a DJ, my mom is a music lover through and through. So it's just like we've always grown up with music, the Sunday morning cleaning to the oldies kind of thing. So it's just music has always been important and in a good place. Like, I've always had a lot of good times with music. So we want to kind of project that forward. Obviously, there are times when, everybody gets a little emo, everybody gets a little angry. So you got to put that in the music sometimes too. But generally speaking, it's just like the love for like hip hop and post hardcore, like the things that they share are like the rambunctiousness. I think that's like it's such a like youthful, fun, loud, and just like kind of like I don't know, chaotic like dichotomy that you put together, and then now you got this like this big thing. And so I think that's kind of why things are the way they are. We have this big braggadocious ethos of like hip hop, and then the loud screamy guitars and screamy vocals of post hardcore, and you just have to be energized,
Nice, yeah. And that I could definitely hear a lot of the hip hop influences. And being from Virginia, I'm thinking like obviously have to have a lot of Atlanta influence. Being from Virginia, I'm sure you're probably a Clips fan growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some of the like other hip hop artists that like you really look to for inspiration when creating the music?
Like just to get it out of the way because I can't. The artist formerly known as Kanye West, the pre-Nazi era Kanye West, was a big thing for us. Growing up, I took a lot of inspiration for like just a lot of the things that he did, whether that be like stylistically or like graphic design wise. Because I'm a design guy, and like that's on top of the beats and the samples and all that. So that was really crucial stuff. But like these days, more so, we're like Danny Brown is a great like influence on just like how spastic, but how like emotional his stuff can be, and just how fun it can be on the other side of things too, so he's got a big range, and he loves like a lot of different stuff. He's been like putting up a lot of hyper pop lately, like in his like, oh, I'm listening to this, but he's also listening to Knock Loose, which is really sick, and he did a couple shows with Knock Loose. So I'm just like, this is the kind of energy we love, so it's like that. Vince Staples. I'm trying to think of anybody else I can think of on the top. We love a lot of like backpacker rap too, like just like old like Common, and I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of Far Side lately for some reason. I don't know. Beastie Boys is always a thing for us. We get compared to that. That's like the mainstream comparison for like, oh, they do rap and rock. So it's like Beastie Boys, Rage Against the Machine, and all that. But we love it. It's good stuff. It's like classics. So, but yeah, anything that's like kind of really, Denzel Curry, there's a lot. So
I'm seeing Denzel Curry in a few weeks. Actually, I'm pretty hyped for that.
That's gonna be a good show.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up Danny Brown doing a few shows with Knock Loose. Like, one of the things that, and tell me your opinion on this. I feel like in the last 5 or so years, there's definitely been a lot of integration with hip hop and more rock and punk and hardcore acts. Like, I think, what was it, JPEG Mafia and Turnstile did a tour like 2 or 3 years ago together.
Yeah, they did. I was there. I forgot I saw that. Yeah.
How have you seen, from your music journey starting, 10 years ago? I feel like it wasn't so kosher to have hip hop and punk and hardcore and metal mix, and now we're getting to a point where it's definitely a lot more acceptable. Have you seen that in your scene as well?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, I know it's better. Like, that's the thing that I'll say than I've always said, and it kind of comes to this place of like, I feel like a lot of people are starting to really truly realize it's like we all kind of grew up on all of it, not just like pieces like we used to, like, or used to hear back in the day. I always think of like early like YouTube comments that are like, I'm not rock, I'm pop, I'm not punk, I'm emo, or like whatever stuff, like those copy pastas or whatever. So, but we're not like on that. Like, everybody grew up listening to like some pop artist, some hip hop artist, some metal band or whatever. So why do we have to like be exclusionary about it? And I think at once everybody kind of wised up and was like, wait a minute, we don't have to do that. That's when it like kind of clicked. So I think top to bottom, a lot more people are more inclined to just mix and just kind of do, like, we played a lot of mixed bills more often than not, I feel like, within the last couple of years, and that's been awesome. To the point that like Jer, the ska artist, they took us on tour. Like, that's awesome. Like, the first band like that's like kind of bigger, quote unquote, than us to take us on tour was a ska band. We never would have thought that like when we first started at all, so it's just like you can find your people in any lane, and I think that's the beauty of like how things has changed over years. As long as you have like the same mentality, who cares what you sound like? So
That's an awesome way to put it. I really love that, because it's funny. A lot of the ethos of like punk and hardcore really is so similar to like the original ethos of what hip hop really was, and all these other, quote unquote counterculture music movements. It is nice to see like a lot of people coming from different scenes really coexisting now. That is cool.
yeah, I agree.
While we're on the hip hop topic, one question I did have for you, obviously it does come through in your music, a lot of hip hop influence, which is awesome. One thing I really love about hip hop is camaraderie amongst artists, and particularly collab albums. And your band, I feel like, really is at the forefront of doing features, having other features, collaborations. Like, can we be looking forward to more of that in the future? And B, and this is a hypothetical, do you think there is like a place where two bands really could get together and truly make a collab album, like a Black Star or Run the Jewels or something like that?
100% on both fronts. Like, we are always thinking about like, oh, who can we put on this, or who would we want to work with, to the point that literally like 2 days ago I tweeted I want to make a hyphy track with Just Friends because they're from the Bay. Like, and I know they kind of fuck with, you know, their area. They really like that hyphy stuff. They got Lil B on a couple tracks, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And they immediately tweeted back, send us something. So we were like, all right, we didn't have anything planned. We're just gonna go write something. So we wrote something last night, and we're like gonna probably send it over to them, see what happens. We'll see. But either way, yes, definitely collabs are coming for sure. We love that shit. To the point of the second one, we want to do that. We've been planning to do that with Cells Ahead. Haven't really figured out how that's going to happen, when that's going to happen, but the general idea is we do want to just get all of us, or as many of us as we can, in a room to just crank out like a Black Star type thing. It's probably be an EP just for, you know, sake of money and time or whatever. But yeah, no, I think it's really cool like when bands can actually like do that. Like the last one I can think of that I really fucked with was that See Space Cowboy If I Die First track, where they were like, this is like both our bands, not just features, but like elements of both bands like coming together throughout the whole runtime. And I thought that was a really cool thing. It's like splits are awesome. I love a good split, but you know, like you're saying, like some of these like true, you know, buddy cop type tracks, like not cops, fuck cops, but you know what I mean? Easy metaphors to say, you know, we're really tight, we're really getting it done, like the Pulp Fiction type joint, if you will.
For sure.
Collabs are great.
That's you know, that's got to be a really interesting process, like to get everybody in a room. I'm sure that's not how it normally happens. So like when you do a collab, like, you know, like you said, you have plenty of great songs with Sales Ahead. You got the Callous Cowboy songs. Like, how do those things happen? Is it just sending tracks back and forth, or do you ever get to write in the same room as other people?
Most of the time it is just the sending tracks back and forth. For honestly, Sierra did come down and actually write with us. That was like the first time that we had somebody else in our studio like writing with us that wasn't in the band or like adjacent to the band like directly, but not a member. So it was really cool to like actually actively bounce stuff back and forth instead of we have done like some like Discord stuff, you know, talking that way to get stuff done. And then, you know, it's like, oh, well, I updated the Pro Tools or the Guitar Pro. You go look at it now. But generally, it is like, okay, we've got this track. Like, so for like the Cowboys one, for example, they're like, oh, we know we want you guys on this. We have this space that, you know, we think that y'all will fit in. Do your thing. So they sent that over, and we're like, okay, well, what do we do with this? We figure it out, track things out, and then send it back. And then they're like, oh, well, that's cool. So it's like they didn't really have any influence on like picking specifically what we did there. Like they knew, I feel like when I talked to Carson, he was like, I think this is like rappy kind of thing, but they didn't know specifically like, you know, what we're doing. And like all our lyrics were ours on that one. So that's a thing. But sometimes, you know, we've given like Joey Lancaster from Bell on Big Mood, those are our lyrics but his vocals. So sometimes you'll get that kind of a situation going where, you know, somebody's like, well, I'll just sing what you got. You know, like it works out in the same way, because I feel like that's still fun in that the voice is, you know, the fingerprint there, not so much like what is being sung or how it's, or what is specifically being sung note wise or word wise. It's like just their imprint is most important. So yeah, all sorts of different kinds of ways to collaborate, but definitely generally it's like, hey, I got this track, here's your space, do your thing.
That's pretty cool, though. It must be so fun, you know, even if it's one of those instances like you give somebody, you know, your baby, and then it's like they send you back with a fun little surprise. That's got to be like a really fun and interesting experience just to see what other people are thinking. Because I'm sure when you do send something over, you have to have like something in mind to begin with.
Right. Yeah. And it honestly, I've been happy to like just say like every single time that we've sent like our baby out, it comes back and we're just like, oh my God, this is awesome. You know, like, so it's really that part of the experience I think is really kind of unique in that, you know, you get to like have something that you love, give it to somebody, and then it comes back and you love it more. Like that normally doesn't happen. I feel like so.
Yeah, that's sick. That's sick. And we've talked about two bands in particular that I kind of wanted to talk about. You brought up Knocked Loose before, and
Mhm.
Callous Cowboys I brought up just now. Obviously, Knocked Loose is having like this crazy huge moment, and to me, the Cowboys are kind of not too far behind. They've
Oh yeah.
really like blown up in the last few years. What do you make of that? Like, how do you think these crazy subgenres of metal that really don't have much mainstream appeal are, ending up on Kimmel or like,
Hmm.
maybe not mainstream, but like mainstream adjacent?
Right. I feel like it has to be that element of like everythingism that we're kind of like experiencing. Spotify. I hate streaming for so many things, but the thing that streaming has done is truly just like allowed the people that do choose to use it to expand as wide as they want to. It's just like I think back in the day where you either had to pirate something that you wanted or you had to buy it. So, that kind of limited your scope, whether that be like hard drive space was limiting or money, was limiting you. So now it's just like I can tap into literally anything. I can tap into things that I don't like. You know what I mean? Like that that was never a thing before. I'm not going to waste time download space downloading something I don't like just to see if I'd end up liking it after trying. So I think now that that's kind of the experience has shifted in that way. People can say like, "Oh, I saw Knock Loose on a TikTok. He has SpongeBob vocals," which is I'm sick of that meme. But he has SpongeBob vocals. Well, let me go verify myself if he has SpongeBob vocals. They tap in and they're like, "Oh, well, this is hard as shit. I like this," and then it, kind of gets the ball rolling that way. So I feel like it's that process that's kind of kept going, and just various like internet connectivity things that allow people to just like really just say like, hey, you need to give this a shot, and now the shot can be taken so easily, so it's not as much of a like like the entry level's lower. So I feel like it allows people to like kind of go, and I think hardcore itself anyway is like getting this boom just because of all like the honesty and like the rawness that the genre encompasses or encapsulates, whatever words. um I think that it's just like people are gravitating towards that because like we have like everybody's like, oh, I got to be perfect for Instagram or like perfect for like social media, but hardcore is just raw as fucking. You get what you get. It's there, right there, all on the table, so to speak, and people like that authenticity. So I think it's like a combination of all that, but it's mostly like social cues that I think are pushing these things forward.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And one thing you bring up there is like the honesty of hardcore. Is that something that you try and think about when you guys are creating music, whether it's, lyrics or if it's even to the point of like, maybe we don't have to track the drums and, make them stick to every single beat.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little more fluid. Like, is that something you think about when you're doing your writing and your recording?
Yeah, absolutely. I know like a lot of the mixing stuff, like Caleb does most of our mixing now. He used to pass that on to Josh Unit, who used to play in Wolf and Bear, like on some previous stuff. But now we're all in house. So I know he likes to keep things like human. Everything we do, like try to make things to grid because I think a lot of the stuff that we do, like the pop leaning things, you kind of have to. If it's off, it doesn't really work. So, but generally we try to keep that human element in that, at least on the mix side. But on the writing side, as far as the authenticity, it's like we don't want to ever tackle a genre that we don't like get, like in some aspect. So that was a lot of the reason we got Jer on them phones, because it's like I'm not a ska listener, like not natively, it's like I enjoy some here and there, some tracks, but it's like I'm not an authority on it. But Jer knows their stuff, and so we were like, why not get somebody that's gonna make sure that if we ask them to play horns, they're gonna play horns only because they know that the track is good. You know, like they would stop us. I feel like if we sent them like some bullshit and they were like, oh, this is no good, I'm not doing that, then we would know that we would need to stop. So since they came through and gave us a fucking banger of a track, we knew we were in good hands there. So I think that's at least our goal, like when writing stuff, is be true to yourself, but if you're gonna like extend your hand a little bit, make sure you like do some listening, you know. So it's like I'd say another example of that would be like Matt. He, you know, comes from more of like a rock and metal background, but he loves hip hop. He likes making beats and stuff. But I'd say like Caleb and I's hip hop knowledge is a little bit longer than his. So we'll suggest stuff, you know, like, hey, go check this out, listen to this. This is the kind of vibe that we're trying to get with this track. And then he'll go listen and then come back. And then once he's listened, he comes back with like an idea, since he's like the theory guy of the group, I'd say. And then he's like right in line with everything that we thought of, just because he's like, oh, I just needed a reference point. So I think that's all it really takes a lot of the time to be like, you know, authentic in your ideas in a writing sense, is just take the time, do some research. Listening comes before speaking, you know. So that's just my take on it, but we try our best to do that.
There's a lot of sage words of wisdom you're spitting out here in this interview.
I do what I can.
What is the band's writing process like? You know, is there somebody who is like the originator of coming with an idea, or is it typically like a total group effort? How does that process work for all y'all?
Generally it's like kind of, lately it's been more just who has an idea, throw it together in the chat. We'll kind of build if we can, or it's give us like a little demo of like a riff, or like, you know, like a whole section, maybe build it. Like, so Matt does guitar, but he'll write everything, right? Like we all can like write everybody's parts. Well, minus me, I can't write guitar because I'm not that good. So, but everybody else will like write whatever they want and then kind of pitch it to everybody else. And, you know, we'll go in and tweak things or embellish on an idea together or separately. So it's really just open-ended, and I've been happy with that lately. But we do love getting together and kind of just collectively fleshing an idea out, because then you can feel if it's like good before, you know, you go too far with it. So that's nice. But surprisingly, we're not really much of a jam band. Like we've done it a couple times, but we're just like, okay, everybody sit around the laptop, computer, whatever, and type numbers into Guitar Pro. And then lately we've been like trying to demo things like as we go, just to get like a feel. But yeah, it's kind of all over the place in that regard. But I think it's good that it comes from so many places and just gets like siphoned into like, all right, it's all on the computer, and then we can like pull that back out and like actually make them songs after.
Yeah, I mean that's a great way, you know, in case you just have like one idea and it's like don't know what to do with it, but we got it saved down in Guitar Pro or whatever. We could revisit it in a week or two. Like that's got to be really nice, so you don't lose progress on something.
Yep, that's it.
Nice. So then, obviously, you know, you're musicians, you're artists. I imagine there's some sort of drive to like either create differently or challenge yourself. Like, is that an internal drive when you are making new music, or is that just something that like naturally comes to you where you're like, oh, you know, I have this new found passion, I have this newfound idea? Or is it like I want to actively change what we're doing, I want to actively like challenge myself and make myself write differently? What is that process like for all of you?
That has been like the biggest thing I think this time around, because I would say, you know, back in the day, like pre-bouquet, right, that was like, all right, we got to do something. Like we have to have a body of work. I like our whole goal at that point was like, I just want an album. I want to have made an album. Like that sounds cool. That sounds so, you know, wild. I've never thought that I could do that. And so we did that. We're like, cool, that's great. So next time we're like, okay, well, now we got to make a better album. Like, so what do we do to like improve it? How do we change it up? How do we like make it a little bit more maximalist, and now we have people that are looking at us to expect certain things or whatever. So it slowly becomes like less of you as much as it is you and your environment. And then so that happened. We were like, cool, Speak It was great, love it. We had, that expectation. Speak Less kind of came from like, I guess, a place of just we had some extra stuff that didn't fit, but we were also kind of fighting against like people are like, oh, well, you guys only do this thing. And I'm like, but we like these things too. So that comes from that. So I feel like that one was even more of a like strictly an environmental response that as opposed to just something we simply wanted to do. Like everything is always something we want to do, but that one definitely came more because of like, well, stop talking like that. I'm going to do what I want to do. Like, so that's that way. And then the newest record, I feel like came from a place of like getting back to the origin almost in a way of like, okay, well, we know what we do. We told you what we can do. We showed you what we can also do on an alternate front. So now we're just going to do what we do because there's nothing more to prove, I think, in that way. So it kind of got back to that. And I think that's why it's like, it's still my favorite, like, thing we've done. I feel like a lot of bands will say that, oh, the newest thing is the best, but I really do think it is that. Like, I don't know. That's just me.
It's
But
the most
either
mature record to date.
exactly. I appreciate that. So I like feeling now on this one where we're just like, okay, well, we are doing us again, truly us again, feeling good about us. But we do want to like not do the same thing. We've done a lot of things now, so I feel like to create something new that stands out a little different but doesn't alienate where we came from is now a puzzle again. Like it's a challenge to figure out how to navigate things. And I think that's like both, like it's like double-edged sword where you're like, oh, this is awesome, this is fun, I'm like working, but like working and having fun. But like it's also bad in that like I could just like not think about anything and just write like the first record again, but do I want to do that? Like, so I'm just, yeah, it's a whole thing. But I think that's been at least within like the last month or two because like we've like ramped up a little bit more. That's been the most intriguing part of the whole system of just like, what are we gonna do? What are we really gonna do? What are we really trying to prove? So we'll see. But all I know is it's good and something will be out soon. Not like soon, but yeah, we're working on it.
Maybe look 2026, we'll say.
Yeah, I think 2025 will have some of the B-sides from the previous record that we just need to finish up. Like those are like written, we're like done, hadn't recorded them just because time, touring or whatever. But we're like not playing as many shows this year, gonna finish that up. And then yeah, 2026 probably like early is like the slated time for a totally new record, but we'll see how that goes.
Nice. Hey, I mean, it'll come out someday. So
Yeah,
whether
exactly.
whether it's early 2026 later, I'm sure we'll all be happy to hear it.
I think so. I'm liking where we're going so far, even though like I'd say we're still like really figuring out where the big picture is going to take us. But it's just like if you can write a couple songs as quickly as we've done a couple of these, I think it's a good sign. If you're feeling positive that fast. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. So, can you tell me a little bit about the Virginia music scene? I'm not from the area. I don't know all too much about it, but like, was metal and post-hardcore was like that really big down there? Was there a lot of like local shows to be going to when you're growing up and all that?
Um, so I would say, well, the thing about that growing up, I got to the scene pretty late. So I was like in college when I was starting to go to shows. So I don't know much before that. But as far as like during Pulse's tenure, the scene has always been kind of weird. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's at least where we're at. So we're in like Northern Virginia, like the headquarters of Pulses is, even though we're separate cities now. But Northern Virginia doesn't really have much going for it as far as like the scene kind of. There's like a VFW that was really big for like hardcore and stuff, and there's a couple of smaller venues that don't generally take hardcore kind of crowd. But there is stuff happening in DC, and then we're like an hour out of Baltimore, so that's awesome. But then we're also like an hour out of Richmond, and those three cities that's where any DIY things are happening at this point. You have a little bit specs here and there, like there's Fredericksburg that has a decent DIY scene, and there's some spots in Maryland that have like breweries and bars that people will play. But it's really those three cities as like the hubs. DC being the post-hardcore city for sure, like with Discord Records back in the day, and it's still a very punk town as far as like the venues. Baltimore is the hardcore spot for sure. I mean, you got like bands like Turnstile and End It, that are making waves. Since they both got announced on the Tony Hawk soundtrack today, I just saw, which is fucking awesome. But there's a bunch of other hardcore bands that are running through there, from there as well, like that are, making a wave. Audubon is probably my favorite venue of all time, local-ish to me, local enough. But then DC is definitely like, I'd say, or not DC, but Richmond is definitely the more like kind of indie weird punk like city. There's always a lot going on down there too. They have a solid hardcore crowd too. I'm not gonna front on that, but we did our best to try to integrate wherever we could. I guess honestly, I feel like I need to tap more back into the DIY spaces, since kind of getting steam with Pulses, but they're flourishing as much as they can. I feel like things have shifted away from house shows and stuff like it used to be, but yeah, the cities, they still got it. They still got it going on. I still love where I'm from.
Nice. You gave me an opening, so I gotta take it. We gotta break away from music and we gotta talk about Tony Hawk right now.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So like, obviously it's no secret to anybody, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater had a huge influence on, most people's music taste. What are some of the, songs or bands that you really took away from, from those games growing up, I guess?
I mean, I love those first four. Like the soundtracks of those first four were everything. I know I feel like I like a lot more like lyrical hip hop because of like the Tony Hawk soundtracks. I feel like that was always like the stuff that they put in more than like the mainstream kind of stuff. I love all the mainstream stuff, but I feel like it cemented my love for like old stuff. I think like that Mos Def song, I guess Yasin now, but Mos Def song on Tony Hawk 2 was one of them, and then Styles of Beyond, that song off of Tony Hawk 2 was like I'm like, all right, I like this a lot. But outside of that, I mean, I always think back to like Dead Kennedy's Police Truck in the first one, and obviously Goldfinger Superman is great. I feel like Jerry Was a Race Car Driver Primus informs me a lot more now than it did back then. But that's a like this band loves that song like a lot. It's just like it embodies a lot of like our weirdness, and that riff is fucking hard on the bass. But yeah, all that. Tony Hawk 3 is probably my favorite soundtrack wise, I think.
Okay.
So it's like what's on there? AFI, Alien Ant Farm, that Wish, yeah. Great song. 96 Quite Bitter Beings, the best riff of all time. What else is on there? Exhibit, Paparazzi on the hip hop side. Red Man, Let's Get Dirty, that's fucking banger. I think there's a KRS-One track on there that's great.
Yeah.
There's just like I could literally keep going like that. that game is everything. That franchise, at least, is everything to me musically, and it's fun to play.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Tony Hawk 4 for me is like my favorite game of all time. That
Oh
or
yeah,
Underground, love
yeah,
them.
yeah,
But it's funny, you bring up like they had a lot of like backpack rap. I went back and played one of the games recently, and I was like, wait, they got Aesop Rock. Wait, they got
yeah,
Bus
yeah.
Driver in this.
Exactly. I think what Gangstar was in 4, I
Yeah,
think, right? Yeah, Mass Appeal. Great song.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Very grateful
No.
for Tony.
Well, hopefully Pulses one day we'll get another remake and Pulses get to be in there.
That would be nice one day. Or Skate. I'll take Skate. Skate's cool too, to be honest with you.
Skate Skate is pretty cool. I actually really like Skate 3
Yeah,
when I was a kid. That was a great game.
exactly. Not as banging of a soundtrack, but they had some joints.
So we're talking a little bit about music you like. If you could only listen to, let's say, 3 albums for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Ooh, that's very tough. It's like I want some like representation across multiple boards if I can.
It's very
Um,
diplomatic.
that's and I'm also like trying not to just like name canceled people. like,
It's
'cause
hard when you're in the punk scene, I get it.
yeah. Oh man, that's rough. Let's see. I'm gonna go with just uh, let's say Fallout Boy, Take This to Your Grave. Let's do Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation, 1814, and oh man, hmm, it's got to be a rap album. But like, I'm trying to think of like what rap album without, fuck it. I'm My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Like, I'm just gonna do it. If I can't take that, I'll say Vince Staples' Big Fish Theory. That's actually good. No, you know what? We're gonna just nix Nazi in this one. So yeah, Take This to Your Grave, Fall Out Boy, Rhythm Nation, Janet Jackson, Vince Staples' Big Fish Theory. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. I do appreciate you not doing Yay in 2025.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is. It's like I grew up like heavily indebted to like a lot of his shit, but that fucking sucks. That's what I say every day. Like that fucking sucks.
And like it not only does it suck for like the obvious reasons, but like if we're being real, like truly probably the most important artist of our generation. Like
Yeah,
I know people joke about it, but it kind of is true.
it's up there. It's up there, and he set a lot of tones, said a lot of things, but tough.
Unfortunately, nowadays, sometimes it really do be like that.
Yeah, I know I haven't really like it's I play a lot off of memory, like it's not stuff that I'm like running back to anymore, but just I have a lot of memories. They
Yeah.
are there.
And if you had to choose for the rest of your bandmates, do you think you could choose like what their favorite album would be for each of them?
Oh man. um I don't I could I can give like a favorite. I don't think I would be able to name any of their number ones, but I could say probably Matt's a good pick for him would be Say Anything self-titled or Blink 182 self-titled. One of the two. Either one. Both great. Um Caleb, I could ask him because he's like in the other room but like doing things. So um I would say a big one for him. Silverstein's Discovering the Waterfront for sure.
Oh,
That's a big one. For David, uh, I don't know the acacia strain very well, but there's one of those. One of the acacia strain records is super important to him. Or maybe Rush Moving Pictures is
oh,
very
a
important to him.
classic.
Yeah, so I feel like those are decent guesses. We'll see if they even if they watch this back. They'll grill me on it, I'm sure.
Nice. So we got, potentially some new music this year, potentially a
Mhm.
lot more new music next year. What are some shows you guys got coming down the pipeline?
The only thing that we have right now is Excellency Fest. That's up in Michigan. I think when is that? I don't know. We're gonna look it up together because I don't know things and I didn't prep, I guess, as well as I thought I did. Excellency Music Festival, August 9th. That is up in Bay City, Michigan.
Oh,
So,
I saw this. This looks like such a great fest.
oh yeah, it's definitely an interesting one in that I'm surprised they wanted us to be there, to be honest. But I'm grateful that they asked us. I feel like it's gonna be a lot of like new stuff for us to be around as far as like genre wise. I think it's a little bit leaning more Midwest emo, pop punky, but I'm glad to be there for sure. It's gonna be a really fun time, I think.
Yeah. No, that looks like I remember when I saw you guys because I saw this got posted by I probably saw it from Jetty Bones. I love Jetty
Mhm.
Bones so much. And
Oh yeah.
when she had posted it, I was like, Pulses and Jetty Bones, man, that's sick.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked. Like honestly, like some of the folks on there, that I am looking forward to. Where's the lineup at? Oh, Arm's Length, obviously, definitely. Like as a headliner, Cliff Diver. We are Moots on Twitter. I saw them perform with the Main. They were at 8123 Fest, and that was really cool. Didn't get to talk to them, but I'm stoked to hang and talk with them um, for that one. Oolong, another great band. Who else is on there? I'm trying to think. There was a lower one on there. The Casper fight scene. Yeah, definitely interested to just watch them play. So should be fun.
Nice, nice. And then before I let you go, I always like to ask a food related question if I can.
Oh yeah,
Um,
let's go.
what's like the best Virginia native delicacy?
See, like that's funny because I feel like I don't know. I'm not the person to ask for that. Um, I mean, the thing about I will say about Northern Virginia's food is that there's a lot. Like we have, like we're outside of DC, so there's a lot of culture. Like you can go to certain cities around DC and like pick up like a lot of like, oh, this is Middle Eastern, this is a very Korean area, this is a very Mexican area. Like Woodbridge is the closest where I'm at right now. It's a very Mexican area, very El Salvadorian too. So it's like you get a lot of that. So it's just like I don't know. I really love the fucking charcoal chicken. I have hit so many different like Peruvian and like that kind of spot. Like um, anything in that ballpark, it's banging stuff like that. That's my thing. But there are a lot of good Korean spots too. Um, Annandale is a little bit up this way, up the way from us, and there's really good like Korean barbecue spots. So I don't know. The thing is, you can get solid ass fucking food of just about any culture, pretty much anywhere up here. So I'm grateful for that at least.
Nice. That's dope. That's dope. Well, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, man.
You have anything else you want to hawk to my double digit audience?
Hey, double digit audience is where everybody starts. So, like, I'm down to do it. I'm down to do it again, at any other time. If you want to have like a specific pointed episode, please let me know.
Absolutely.
But
Thank you.
to everybody, we are Pulses. We're gonna continue making some weird ass music, and hope you like it. Definitely have something out before the end of the year. New album probably next year. Catch us at Excellency Fest. I think that's about it. Really, go listen to old stuff. It's still good. I like all of it. So
Oh yeah, I love that. Well, dope. Thank you again. Really appreciate you doing this.
yeah, man, no problem.
So just wanted to come in and say, thank you so much to Kevin for stopping by. Really such a kind, thoughtful, and, really just a great person to talk to. I think we had a really great conversation. So, go listen to Pulses. And I really love doing these interviews. So if you're here watching this, like, comment, subscribe, all that. But, drop a comment. Let me know who I should be reaching out to. I'd love some suggestions, whether it's more musicians of same or different genres or any other interesting people you think I should chat with. I would just love to keep doing this. So, in the meantime, let's go see if I could, hit 175 on an incline bench. Not too confident about it. Maybe. We'll see. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Oh. Light work, baby.